Good morning, my dear friend. This early morning belongs to you and to the quiet beating of your heart. Outside, the night is slowly stepping back, and the first hints of dawn are brushing the edge of the sky. The world is still half asleep. The streets are softer, the air is cooler, and for a brief moment it feels as if time itself is holding its breath. This is the sacred hour before the noise begins, the hour when your soul can finally speak without being drowned out by everything else that demands your attention. Maybe you woke up today with a weight that did not disappear during the night. The alarm rang, but the fear stayed. You did not need to remember your pain, because it was already waiting on the pillow next to you. Perhaps you are walking through grief, or the shock of a broken relationship, or the slow ache of dreams that never turned into reality. On the outside, you know how to smile, how to put yourself together and show up for the people who depend on you. On the inside, you are tired of being the strong one, tired of pretending you are fine, tired of asking yourself how much longer you can keep going like this. If this is where you are not alone. There is a God who has watched every tear you refuse to let fall, who has listened to every wordless prayer you could not bring yourself to say out loud. Nothing about your story has been hidden from him. Not the questions you are afraid to ask, not the anger you do not dare to admit, not the disappointment that makes you secretly wonder if hope is still safe. He has walked with you through nights that nobody else saw and through battles that nobody else understood. And he has brought you to this very morning on purpose, not by accident. Today is not just another date on the calendar. Today can become a turning point, a doorway into a different way of walking through your life. In this time together, we are going to slow down, breathe deeply, and step into a real conversation with the one who knows you best and loves you most. We are going to bring him the raw truth about where you are, and we are going to let his truth speak back into the dark corners of your heart. Faith is not pretending that everything is easy. Faith is daring to believe that even in your questions and confusion, you are being held by a love that does not let go. Prayer has the power to do what your own strength never could. It gathers every broken piece, every scattered thought, every quiet fear, and places them into hands that are steady when yours are shaking. As you listen and respond, let your guard come down. You do not have to perform here. You do not have to impress God. You only have to be honest. This is your invitation, in the softness of the morning, to open your heart and step into a sacred dialogue with the living God who has been waiting to meet you right here, in this very moment. So wherever you are, whisper to him in your own words, and let this be the sunrise of a new beginning within you now. Dear Heavenly Father, this early morning I come before you with a heart that feels heavier than the air around me. The light outside has not yet reached its full strength, and in that dim quietness I feel the weight of everything I have carried for far too long. I do not want to hide anything from you today. I do not want to pretend that I am stronger than I am, or that the ache inside me can be ignored for another day. I come honestly, with the tiredness that follows me, even after a full night of sleep, with the thoughts that keep returning no matter how many times I try to silence them, and with the longing for relief that seems to grow deeper each time I face another sunrise. Father, you see the parts of me I try to hide from the world, the trembling places I hesitate to reveal even to myself. You know the worries that press on my chest before I am fully awake. You know the memories that sting, the voices that whisper failure, and the silent fears that make my hands shake even when I appear calm on the outside. You know how many times I have tried to carry everything alone and convince myself that I am fine. But you also know that I am not fine, not all the way through, and that the strength I show to others often comes with a secret cost. So I bring myself to you just as I am, without decoration, without excuses, without rehearsed words. I bring you my confusion about the path ahead, the exhaustion that settles deeper each day, and the heaviness that sometimes makes it hard to breathe. I bring you the painful thoughts that wake me in the night, and the sadness I avoid during the day. I bring you the disappointments that still bruise my heart, and the questions I have not had the courage to ask. I bring you every part of me that feels unfinished, broken, uncertain, or afraid. I do not ask for perfection today. I am only asking for your presence in the places that feel the darkest. I am asking you to sit with me in the quiet corners of my heart where loneliness has made its home. I am asking you to breathe peace into the places where fear has kept its grip for far too long. I am asking you to let me feel that I am not facing this sunrise by myself, that I am not stepping into this day without the comfort of your nearness around me. Help me to sense your compassion in the soft stillness of this moment. Help me to remember that you are not disappointed by my weakness or frustrated by my slow healing. Help me to believe that you draw closer to me in my brokenness, not further away. Let this be the morning where I stop running from the truth of how much I need you. Let this be the moment when I finally admit that I cannot keep living under the pressure of carrying everything alone. You know how long I have fought to stay strong, how much energy I have spent pretending to be composed, how many tears I have swallowed to make it through the day. You know how many nights I have lain awake replaying the same conversations, reliving the same wounds, and wondering when relief will come. You know the fear that keeps whispering that nothing will ever change, and the shame that tells me I should have been stronger by now. You know every layer of my story and every hidden corner of my heart. So instead of hiding, instead of pushing myself past the point of breaking, I place myself in your open hands. Let this morning be different. Let this be the beginning of honesty, the start of surrender, the invitation to healing. Let your presence meet me here in the quiet, before the world demands anything of me. Let me feel the warmth of your attention, the gentleness of your gaze, and the tenderness of your love wrapping around every hurting part of me. I do not know how the rest of this day will unfold, but I know I cannot face it without you. Hold me steady. Lift what is too heavy for me. Speak to the places where I have forgotten hope. Remind me that even in this dim, fragile morning light, I am seen, valued, and deeply loved. Let this be the start of something new within me, something that breathes life back into the tired chambers of my heart and whispers to me that dawn always comes even after the longest night. Father, as I remain in the quiet that lingered from the moment before, I feel how deeply I needed to speak the truth that finally poured out of me. Something inside me is softer now, not healed yet, but open in a way it has not been for a long time. The honesty I offered you has left a fragile space within me, a space that feels both exposed and relieved. I am still carrying the same weight I brought into this morning, but I sense that I no longer carry it entirely alone. In this quiet continuation of my thoughts, I turn my attention toward you, hoping to hear something gentle, something that reminds me that you have not stepped away from me after hearing the rawest parts of my heart. Lord, I know that reaching toward you is not always easy for me. I have learned to retreat into myself when pain grows loud. I have learned to hide my fear behind routines and responsibilities so no one sees the truth. Yet the moment I allowed myself to be honest with you, a small shift began. A quiet courage stirs, urging me to keep moving toward your presence and not slip back into silence. I do not want to return to the habit of carrying everything by myself. I want this morning to be different from all the mornings when I whispered a quick prayer and ran back into my worry. This time I want to remain here long enough for your voice to settle into my spirit. God, I do not ask for thunder or signs. I do not need visions or dramatic answers. What I need is the assurance that you are leaning close enough to hear the trembling edges of my thoughts. I need to know that you are willing to speak to me, not as someone who should have figured everything out by now, but as someone you genuinely care for. I need the quiet certainty that you do not grow tired of my repeated questions or the slow progress of my healing. I need to feel that you welcome me even when I bring the same fears you have already watched me fight countless times. As I turn my heart toward you, I picture myself reaching out a hesitant hand into the dim morning light, hoping it will meet yours. Not a dramatic gesture, not a desperate grasp, but a small and honest movement from isolation into connection. I imagine you seeing that small gesture for what it truly is, the first step of trust after a long season of guarding my own heart. I imagine you meeting me with a tenderness that quiets my doubts. No judgment, no rush, only a gentle presence that stays. I am learning, slowly, that I do not need to have the right words to speak to you. I do not need to arrange my sentences carefully to deserve your attention. You hear the part of me that cannot form language. You hear the emotion beneath the thought, the cry beneath the silence, the longing beneath the exhaustion. And as I sit here in the early stillness, I feel a quiet desire to speak more openly, to let down another layer, to trust that you can hold even the words I struggle to say. Father, help me turn my inner turmoil toward you instead of inward, where it multiplies. Help me lift my thoughts instead of letting them spiral into fear and confusion. Help me sense that every small movement toward you matters, that no attempt to reach for you is wasted. Teach me how to respond when I feel your nearness. Teach me how to pause long enough to recognize the whisper of your comfort. Teach me how to let your presence quiet the noise that has lived inside me for so long. As this morning unfolds, I ask for the strength to keep my heart open, I ask for the courage not to shut down when emotions rise. I ask for the grace to stay honest even when honesty feels risky. Remind me that the God who listened to my trembling words a moment ago is the same God who draws near when my voice falters. Remind me that you welcome every part of me, even the parts I have avoided facing. Remind me that this reaching toward you is not a test I can fail, but an invitation into something deeper. So I stay here a little longer, breathing slowly, listening quietly, waiting not for answers, but for the comfort of knowing I am seen and heard. Let this moment become the doorway through which I learn to lean into you instead of hiding from you. Let this small turning of my heart become the beginning of trust that grows stronger with each morning. And as the light continues to rise outside, let something within me rise with it, something that whispers that I am not alone, that you are near, and that reaching toward you is the first step toward being made whole. Lord, as I continue sitting in this quiet morning, I feel something shifting inside me, something gentle that was not as clear before. It is as if the honesty of the last moments made room for a new awareness, a softer sense that I am being looked at with a compassion I have rarely allowed myself to believe in. I am still fragile, still hesitant, still unsure about many things. Yet there is a subtle warmth rising from within, a warmth that suggests I am seen more deeply than I ever imagined. And in this tenderness, I realize how long I have lived feeling invisible, even while surrounded by people. Father, you know how many years I have carried the quiet H of being overlooked. You know how many times I pushed my feelings aside because I thought no one would care. I learned to keep my emotions tucked away, to hide my hurt behind a practiced calmness, believing that expressing my pain would only make me a burden. But now, in this moment with you, the layers I once used for protection begin to soften. I sense that you notice every detail I assumed no one saw. You see beyond the surface, beyond the rehearsed strength, beyond the silence I trained myself to maintain. Lord, it is strange to feel understood without speaking a full sentence. It is strange to sense comfort in a space where no one else is present. It is strange to realize that you are paying attention to the things I dismiss as unimportant. And yet, all of this strangeness carries a piece I cannot ignore. I feel as though you are leaning close, not out of obligation, but out of genuine care for the cracks and bruises I try to hide. For the first time in a long time, I feel the permission to let myself be known. As I reflect on the heaviness that has followed me through many seasons, I begin to see how deeply I have longed for someone to understand the quiet struggles inside me. I have hoped for a voice that could tell the difference between my calm exterior and the storm beneath it. And in this stillness, I sense that you are that voice. You understand the emotion behind my silence. You notice the tremor in my thoughts. You see the places where disappointment settled like dust. You recognize the wounds that have shaped my guarded heart. You do not rush me past them. You do not ask me to pretend they do not exist. You simply stay. God, it comforts me to imagine your attention resting gently on the parts of me I usually keep hidden, I imagine you tracing the places where I feel broken, not to expose them, but to reassure me that none of my fractures disqualify me from your love. I imagine you looking at me not with frustration or impatience, but with a steady tenderness that tells me I am safe to reveal what hurts. I imagine you seeing my insecurity, my fear of not being enough, and responding not with disappointment, but with the quiet declaration that I am yours. This awareness does not remove all my pain, but it changes the way it sits inside my chest. The heaviness is still there, but it no longer feels like something I must carry alone. The loneliness still lingers, but it no longer feels like an empty void. The fear still whispers, but it no longer feels like the most powerful voice in the room. There is another presence here, steady and gentle, reminding me that being seen by you is not something to fear, but something to rest in. So I remain here, letting this truth settle in the deeper places of my heart. Let it reach every part of me that believed I was unseen. Let it touch every memory where I felt forgotten. Let it move through every disappointment that taught me to expect nothing. Let it rewrite the stories I told myself about being alone. Let it remind me that I am held in a gaze filled with mercy and patience. Let this morning be the beginning of learning that I am fully known, fully seen, and still completely loved. Father, as I sit here in this unfolding quiet, I can feel the shift that began earlier growing a little stronger, like a soft light stretching gently across the horizon. The heaviness within me has not vanished, yet something new is settling beside it. Something that feels almost like the first hint of hope, delicate and cautious but undeniably present. It is as though the awareness of being seen by you has opened a small window inside me, and now the faintest breeze of possibilities is moving through it, reminding me that change, though slow, is not impossible. Lord, I have grown so used to expecting disappointment that hope feels unfamiliar, almost fragile in my hands. I have kept myself guarded, fearing that to hope again would mean opening myself to another wound. I have told myself that expecting little is safer than longing for more, but in this moment, with the morning still quiet around me, I sense that you are inviting me to lift my eyes, just slightly, toward something brighter than my past has taught me to expect. Not a sudden transformation, not a dramatic burst of clarity, but a gentle assurance that the story is not finished. God, it feels almost brave to admit that I want to hope again. For so long I have tried to numb that desire, telling myself that hope only leads to disappointment. But now, as I continue to rest in the comfort of your nearness, I realize that hopelessness has weighed me down far more than disappointment ever did. I have lived like someone standing in the shadow of a door that never opens, fearing the pain of trying the handle one more time. Yet something in me whispers that you are not the one who closed that door. Perhaps you are gently guiding me to another path, a path where light waits even when I cannot see it fully. As I sit with this thought, I imagine the quiet arrival of dawn, not the bright glow that comes later, but the trembling first ray that slips through the dimness and touches the world with a soft warmth. It does not erase the night instantly. It does not rush. It simply begins. And in its beginning, everything changes. I feel that same small beginning stirring in me now. A reminder that hope does not have to be loud to be real. It can arrive like a quiet breath, a slow unfurling, a gentle reassurance that I am not stuck forever in the shadows of what has hurt me. Father, help me welcome this fragile hope without fear. Help me hold it without questioning whether I deserve it. Help me trust that you are the one placing it in my heart, not my imagination, not my wishful thinking, but your gentle hand reminding me that life can rise again, even in places that felt barren. Let this small spark grow at its own pace, not rushed by my impatience or crushed by my doubt. Teach me to protect it, to nurture it, to let it become a steady flame in time. Lord, as this early light reaches into my thoughts, remind me that hope is not a risk when it comes from you. It is a sign of your presence, a sign that you are working even when I cannot see the full picture. Remind me that hope does not depend on my strength, but on your faithfulness. Remind me that hope does not deny my pain. It simply refuses to let pain be the final word. Remind me that hope is the quiet courage to believe that you still have more for me. More healing. More peace. More restoration. More life than I have tasted before. So I embrace this soft beginning, letting it rest in the tender spaces within me. I let it touch the corners of my heart that have long been dimmed by disappointment. I let it breathe into the weary places that have forgotten what anticipation feels like. I let it whisper that I am not beyond renewal. And as the light outside grows slowly brighter, let this hope grow with it, gently awakening the parts of me that thought they would never rise again. Let today be the morning when hope returns, not in a sudden burst, but in the quiet, steady way that you often move, patient and sure, guiding me toward life one breath at a time. Father, as the quiet inside me continues to unfold from the moments before, I feel myself stepping into a deeper place of honesty, a space where the fragile hope that began to rise now meets an even more tender truth. The truth that I long to believe, but still struggle to hold. I have spent so much of my life wondering whether I truly belong, whether I am truly wanted, whether my flaws and failures have pushed me too far from the acceptance I silently crave. And as this soft morning grows brighter around me, I feel you drawing me gently to a truth I have resisted but desperately need. A truth that whispers that I am not unwanted, not forgotten, not set aside in disappointment, but held in a love that refuses to let me disappear into the background. Lord, you know how deeply I have carried the fear of rejection. You know how often I have convinced myself that I take up too much space, that my emotions are too heavy, that my needs are too inconvenient. I have learned to shrink myself, to quiet my thoughts, to hide the pieces of me that I assumed would push others away. I learned long ago to mask hurt with composure, to swallow disappointment before it reached my voice, to pretend that being overlooked did not wound me. Yet beneath those layers, a quiet ache has always lingered, a longing to be seen without judgment and held without conditions. God, as I allow myself to remain in this unfolding nearness with you, I feel something within me loosening, something that no longer wants to hide behind practiced strength. The awareness that you see me with compassion makes space for another truth to surface, The truth that you do not merely notice me, but claim me as your own. I am not standing before a distant creator who tolerates me out of duty. I am resting before a loving Father who delights in calling me his. This is a difficult truth for my heart to hold, yet it brings with it a warmth that feels like the beginning of healing, a comfort that tells me I no longer need to carry the weight of proving my worth. Father, I imagine you reaching toward the places in me I have kept hidden the longest, the parts of my identity that feel fragile and uncertain. I imagine you seeing not the broken pieces I try to glue together on my own, but the beauty you placed inside me from the beginning. A beauty I have often dismissed or overlooked. I imagine you touching the edges of my wounded identity, not with frustration for how slowly I heal, but with a tenderness that tells me I have never been a disappointment to you. I imagine you reminding me that I was chosen long before I learned to doubt my value, that I belonged to you before the world taught me to feel small. There is a certain trembling in my chest as I sit with this truth. To be embraced rather than rejected requires me to let go of the belief that love must always be earned. It requires me to loosen my grip on the fear that I'll be abandoned if I falter. It requires me to face the memories of times when acceptance was withheld, when my voice was ignored, when love felt conditional and unpredictable. These memories cling tightly, shaping my instincts, shaping the way I approach every relationship, shaping the way I approach even you. Yet in this soft morning light, I sense you gently rewiring the way I see myself, offering me a new understanding that does not rely on fear, performance, or perfection. Lord, you are teaching me that belonging is not something I must chase. It is something you have already given. I do not need to earn a place in your heart. I already have one. I do not need to try to make myself worthy of your presence. You draw near because you love me, not because I have achieved some spiritual milestone. I do not need to hide what hurts or pretend to be stronger than I am. You welcome the real me, the wary me, the uncertain me, the flawed me. And in your acceptance, I find a comfort I have rarely allowed myself to experience. God, help me to trust this truth, even when it feels unfamiliar. Help me to let your love rewrite the false beliefs etched deep into my spirit. Help me release the idea that rejection is inevitable, that I must always stand ready for abandonment, that love is something fragile and temporary. Teach me to rest in the assurance that the one who knows me best is the one who chooses me still. Teach me to believe that your acceptance is not dependent on my performance, but rooted in your eternal nature. Teach me to let your love unfold within me in ways that reshape my understanding of worth. As I breathe in the quiet of this morning, I feel the heaviness of self-doubt losing a small piece of its hold. I feel the old narratives beginning to loosen from the corners of my heart. I feel something new settling in. Not a dramatic revelation, but a gentle settling, like a soft blanket placed over chilled skin. It is the feeling of being safe, truly safe, in your presence. Safe to be honest, safe to be vulnerable, safe to be imperfect, safe to be fully known and still fully loved. So I remain here, letting this truth settle deeper. Let it reach the places where fear once lived. Let it soften the memories that taught me to hide. Let it soothe the wounds that whispered I was not enough. Let it become the new foundation beneath my identity. Let it remind me that rejection does not define me, that abandonment does not own me, that inadequacy does not determine my value. You do, and in your presence, I am embraced, held, and gently led forward into a love that does not let go. Father, as I rest in the truth that your acceptance surrounds me, I feel another realization rising slowly within me, one that I have avoided for much of my life. For so long, I believed that strength meant holding everything together, pretending I was unshaken, proving that I could survive without falling apart. But now, as your gentleness settles deeper into the places where fear once lived, I sense you inviting me into a new understanding, a way of seeing myself that does not demand perfection or performance. I feel you whispering that I do not need to be strong to be loved, and that my weakness is not a barrier to your presence, but a doorway through which your grace enters. Lord, I have carried my weaknesses like hidden stones, tucked away where no one could see them. I feared that exposing them would make me unworthy, that admitting I was struggling would cause others to pull away. I learned to mask my limitations, to work harder, to speak less, to push through exhaustion, to convince everyone, including myself, that I could handle whatever came my way. And yet beneath that forced strength, there has always been a quiet trembling, a fear that if I ever let the facade slip, I would lose the acceptance I fought so hard to keep. But you see straight through the surface, and you do not turn away. You see the fatigue behind my determination, the questions beneath my confidence, the fragility hidden inside my resilience. You see every moment when I feel overwhelmed, every time I collapse in secret, every night when the weight of my own expectations becomes too heavy to carry, and instead of demanding more from me, you extend grace, a grace that asks nothing in return except honesty, a grace that moves toward my weakness with tenderness instead of judgment. God, I realize now that I have misunderstood what it means to be strong. I thought strength was the absence of struggle, the ability to endure without wavering. But you show me a different picture, one where strength is found in surrender, where courage is found in admitting my limits, where endurance is found not in pushing harder, but in leaning deeper into you. You teach me that weakness is not evidence of failure, but an invitation to experience your sustaining power. You teach me that grace is not a reward for those who achieve perfection, but a gift for those who acknowledge they cannot save themselves. As I take a slow breath in this morning stillness, I allow myself to confront the places where I feel inadequate. I name the areas where I fall short, the habits I struggle to break, the fears I cannot control, the emotions I do not know how to express, the responsibilities that overwhelm me. I bring them all before you, not as shameful secrets, but as open spaces where your grace can dwell. I let myself speak honestly. I am tired. I am unsure. I am not as strong as I pretend to be. And in this vulnerability, I feel something I have not felt in a long time, a quiet release, a loosening of the grip I kept on myself. Father, help me learn the rhythm of leaning on you. Help me understand that I do not need to carry everything in my own strength. Help me accept the truth that you are not disappointed when I am weak. You are present ready to lift what I cannot lift, ready to steady what trembles inside me. Teach me to receive your grace the way dry ground receives rain. Without resistance, without trying to earn it, without questioning whether I deserve it. Let your grace fill the places where self-reliance once lived, reminding me that I was never meant to walk through life alone. Lord, ask you to reshape my understanding of strength. Replace the old belief that I must perform with a new confidence that I am held. Teach me to rest instead of striving, to trust instead of controlling, to rely on your faithfulness instead of my limited abilities. Help me to see weakness not as a flaw, but as a space where your power becomes visible. Let my limitations become reminders that I am dependent on you, not destined to carry the weight of the world on my own shoulders. As I continue to sit in this moment, breathing slowly and letting these truths settle deeper, I feel something shifting inside me. The pressure to be invincible begins to loosen. The fear of failing begins to soften. The constant urge to hide begins to fade. In their place, I feel a growing peace, a quiet assurance that your grace is enough, not just for the world around me, but for me, for every corner of my life that feels fragile or unfinished. I picture myself releasing the burdens I once clung to, letting them fall gently into your hands. Responsibilities I thought I had to manage alone. Expectations I thought I was meant to meet perfectly. Emotions I thought I had to suppress. All of them. Slowly. Deliberately. Placed before you, not because I am giving up, but because I am learning to trust that you are stronger than my strongest effort and gentler than my harshest self-criticism. God, let this be the morning when I stop measuring myself by what I can carry and begin measuring my life by the grace that carries me. Let this be the moment when I stop striving to earn what you freely give. Let this be the space where I allow myself to be human, imperfect, healing, and held. And as the morning light continues to brighten, let the truth sink deep into me, that my weakness does not disqualify me from your love, but draws you even closer, wrapping me in a grace that strengthens me far beyond what my own effort ever could. Father, as this gentle awareness of your grace settles deeper into the fragile places within me, I feel another truth stirring, one that rises like a quiet echo from everything you have been teaching me. If weakness is not a failure, but an invitation, then perhaps I no longer need to carry the burdens I held so tightly for so long. Perhaps I do not need to cling to every worry, fear, responsibility, and expectation as if my world would collapse without my constant grip. The thought feels unfamiliar, almost unsettling, yet freeing in a way that loosens something inside me. I sense you gently inviting me to release what has weighed on my shoulders for far too many seasons. Lord, you know the weight I carry, even the weight I hide from myself. You know the responsibilities I pile onto my back, convinced that I must bear them alone. You know the pressures I feel to appear composed, reliable, capable, no matter the cost. You know how many nights I have lain awake trying to solve problems beyond my control. You know the silent battles I have fought with fear and the quiet conversations I have rehearsed in my mind. You know the exhaustion I carry from trying to hold every piece of my life in place, afraid that letting go of even one thing will cause everything to fall apart. God, I realize now how tightly I have clenched my hands around burdens that were never meant to be mine alone. I have treated worry as responsibility, fear as preparation, and stress as duty. I have convinced myself that anxiety means I care, and that rest means I am neglecting something important. Yet all this time, you have been waiting for me to loosen my grip, to trust you with what I cannot control, to believe that surrender is not abandonment, but obedience. You have watched me struggle beneath loads too heavy for my human strength, not with frustration, but with compassion, patiently waiting for the moment when I would finally allow you to share the weight. As I breathe slowly in this quiet morning, I begin to recognize the difference between carrying and clinging. There are things you have entrusted to me, relationships, responsibilities, decisions, but you never asked me to hold them with fear, desperation, or self-preservation. You asked me to steward them, not to be crushed by them. And yet somewhere along the way, I forgot the difference. I began to cling to everything with anxious hands, believing that if I let go even slightly, I would lose everything. But now, as your presence steadies me, I feel an unexpected courage rising, a courage that whispers that letting go is not losing control, but giving it back to the one who never fails. Father, help me bring every burden into the open, one by one. The concerns that never leave my mind, the fears that linger beneath my thoughts, the pressure I feel to fix what is broken, the weight of trying to be strong for everyone else, the unspoken expectations that push me beyond my limits, the disappointment of dreams that have not yet unfolded, the uncertainty about the future, the heaviness of unresolved emotions. I lay them before you now, not because I want to run from them, but because I want to stop carrying them alone. Lord, teach me how to release these burdens with trust rather than fear. Teach me that surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a declaration that I believe you are stronger than the challenges I face. Teach me to unclench my hands slowly, gently, without shame. Teach me to give you what I have tightly held, even when letting go feels unfamiliar. Let me feel the relief that comes when I finally admit that I am tired of carrying what was never mine to bear. As I sit in this moment, I imagine my burdens as objects I have carried for miles, worn and heavy, digging into my shoulders. I picture placing them gently at your feet, not tossing them aside in frustration, but offering them with reverence, trusting that you know exactly what to do with what overwhelms me. I imagine you receiving each burden with tenderness, not criticizing me for holding them too long, but welcoming the surrender with love. I imagine you reassuring me that nothing I give to you is lost, that everything I place in your hands becomes lighter, safer, steadier than it ever was in mine. God, I ask you to give me the wisdom to know the difference between what I am responsible for and what I need to release. Help me to walk in faith rather than fear, to make decisions from peace instead of anxiety, to act from trust rather than panic. Let your presence be the space where I exhale my worries and inhale your rest. Let me learn how to move through my day without carrying the weight of tomorrow. Let me rest in the truth that you hold everything together, including me. As the morning light grows stronger, I feel the subtle shift within me becoming more tangible. The heaviness begins to loosen its grip. The tension in my chest softens. The quiet panic that often lingers beneath my calm exterior fades. Just a little. I realize now that releasing my burdens is not a one-time act, but a daily practice. A steady rhythm of surrender that forms part of my relationship with you. And this morning, in this soft light, I choose again to place everything in your hands, trusting that you are more capable, more compassionate, and more faithful than I have ever allowed myself to believe. So I stay here a little longer, letting this act of release continue to unfold. Let the weight lighten. Let the tightness ease. Let the fear unwind its hold. Let my heart learn to rest in the safety of surrender. And let this morning become a sacred reminder that I am not carrying life alone. That I am not expected to be the anchor of my own world. That I am held by a strength far greater than anything I could muster within myself. Let the peace that follows surrender become the quiet song that carries me through the day ahead. Lord, as the peace from releasing my burdens continues to settle gently over my heart, I feel myself slowly becoming aware of another longing within me, a longing to move forward with clarity instead of confusion, with direction instead of wandering. Letting go has created a stillness inside me, and in that stillness I begin to recognize how much I need your guidance. Not as a distant suggestion, but as a steady light that leads me through the places where I have walked blindly for far too long. The relief of surrender has made space for a deeper desire. The desire to follow you step by step, even when the path ahead remains unclear. Father, you know how often I have tried to navigate life on my own understanding. You know how many choices I have made from fear rather than wisdom. You know the paths where I stumbled in confusion, the moments when I pressed forward without direction, and the seasons where I wandered in circles because I could not discern where to go next. You know how often I have strained to see the full map before taking even a single step, and how tightly I have held on to my own expectations, even when they led me into darker places. Yet even in my wandering, you never abandoned me. You watched each misstep with patience, waiting for the moment my heart would quiet long enough to seek your light. God, now that I am learning to release what weighed me down, I find myself longing not just for relief, but for clarity. I do not want to continue walking in the dimness I once accepted as normal. I do not want to keep relying on my limited vision, stumbling through decisions while pretending I know what I am doing. I want to walk with you guiding me, not in broad, overwhelming rays, but in a gentle light that reveals just enough for the next step. A light that encourages trust rather than certainty. A light that draws me closer to you with each movement forward. As I breathe in this quiet moment, I imagine myself standing on a path that stretches into the distance. The areas far ahead remain soft and undefined, but the ground beneath my feet is illuminated by a warm, steady glow. It is not a spotlight that overwhelms me, nor a faint flicker that leaves me guessing. It is a calm, patient light that moves ahead as I move, inviting me to follow without fear. In that image, I sense the reassurance that I do not need to know everything at once. I only need to stay close enough to you that your light continues to guide me. Lord, help me to recognize your light when it appears. Help me to sense your nudge when I am about to drift into old patterns or step into places that will drain my spirit. Help me to distinguish your voice from the noise of my own anxiety. Help me to understand that walking in the light is not the absence of challenges, but the presence of clarity. Teach me to look for your guidance in the simple moments, the conversation that brings peace, the thought that quiets my fear, the opportunity that aligns with truth, the discomfort that signals caution. Let your light become my compass, steady and trustworthy. Father, I also ask you to help me release my craving for full control. The unknown has always frightened me, and I have often rushed ahead simply to escape the discomfort of uncertainty. But now, as I rest in the knowledge that you are with me, I begin to see that uncertainty is not my enemy. It is the space where trust grows. It is the space where I learn to lean on you instead of leaning on my own predictions. It is the space where your light shines brightest, not revealing everything at once, but illuminating the path in gentle intervals, reminding me that I am not walking alone. As I sit here, I reflect on the times when I ignored your light because I feared where it might lead. The times I hesitated when you nudged me to move. The times I pushed forward when you gently asked me to wait. The times I clung to familiar darkness simply because it felt safer than the vulnerability of stepping into your truth. I realize now that your light has always been an invitation, not a demand. An invitation to trust your heart, not just your direction. An invitation to walk with you, not ahead of you. An invitation to move with confidence, not because the path is certain, but because you are. God, teach me to walk in your light with a posture of surrender and anticipation. Let my steps be guided by patience rather than panic, by discernment rather than assumption, by faith rather than fear. Let your presence become the glow that steadies me when uncertainty rises. Let your wisdom shape my decisions before I rush into them. Let your truth clear away the fog of doubt that often settles over my thoughts. Let the purity of your light expose the lies I have believed, the habits that once led me astray, and the distractions that cloud my vision. As the morning continues to brighten outside, I sense something shifting within me as well. The longing for clarity becomes less urgent, less frantic, and more peaceful. Instead of demanding answers, I find myself wanting communion. Instead of asking for a full map, I ask for companionship. Instead of searching for certainty, I search for closeness with you. And in that closeness, I realize that the light I need most is not simply the light that guides my path, but the light that transforms my heart, calming my fears and aligning my desires with yours. So I remain in this gentle stillness, letting your light surround my thoughts. Let it reach the places where confusion once reigned. Let it soften the parts of me that resist change. Let it illuminate the next step, even if it is small. Let it remind me that clarity is not something I must force, but something you give in your perfect timing. And as I prepare to step into the day ahead, let me walk not with the pressure of knowing everything, but with the quiet confidence of knowing I am guided, seen, and lovingly led by the one whose light never fades. Father, as I continue resting in the gentle clarity that began unfolding within me, I feel another quiet shift rising, a deeper awareness of how worn my spirit has become from the battles I have fought for so long, even as your light steadies my path one step at a time. I can feel the fatigue that lingers beneath the surface, the exhaustion that comes not from a single moment, but from years of carrying internal struggles that few ever see. The release of burdens has brought relief, but it has also revealed how depleted I truly am. And in this moment, I sense you calling me not just to walk in your guidance, but to draw strength from you, strength I cannot produce on my own. Lord, you know how often I have reached the edge of my endurance. You know the nights when I whispered that I could not keep going. You know the mornings when rising felt like climbing a mountain with trembling legs. You have witnessed every quiet collapse of my heart, every moment when I felt too drained to hope, too overwhelmed to breathe deeply, too battle-worn to continue pretending I was fine. You have seen the weight of discouragement settle on my shoulders each time I tried to stand again, only to feel the same fears pressing against my spirit. And yet you continue to draw near with patience, offering strength that does not shame me for needing it. God, I realize now how much of my life has been spent fighting battles in silence. Battles with doubt, battles with fear, battles with comparison, battles with the lingering voices of old wounds, battles with the pressure to appear unshaken. Sometimes the weight of these unseen battles feels heavier than anything external. They drain my energy quietly, slowly, constantly. They leave me weary in ways I cannot easily explain. And as I sit with this awareness, I sense you inviting me to stop fighting these battles alone, to let your strength become the steady force that carries me through what my own strength cannot. As I breathe in the calm of this morning, an image forms in my mind, not of a warrior with flawless armor, but of someone standing with humble honesty, acknowledging their exhaustion. I imagine myself leaning into your presence, not with defiance, but with surrender, allowing you to become the strength I lack. I imagine you placing a steadying hand on my weary spirit, not demanding that I rise on my own, but lifting me gently, as someone who understands the deep fatigue of the soul. In that image there is no judgment, only compassion, a compassion that sees my struggle and offers rest without conditions. Lord, teach me what it means to receive strength from you, instead of trying to manufacture it through sheer willpower. Teach me to breathe in your courage when my own courage falters. Teach me to draw from your endurance when my steps feel unsteady. Teach me to rely on your steadiness when my emotions shift like changing winds. Let me remember that the strength you give is not something I must earn. It is something you offer freely, a gift born out of your love rather than my effort. Father, I bring before you the areas where I feel the weakest, the places where fear still whispers, the wounds that still ache, the discouragement that rises when progress feels slow, the fatigue that deepens when battles drag on longer than expected. I place all of it in your hands, not as a defeat, but as an acknowledgement that I cannot carry on without your renewal. Let your strength fill the spaces where my own strength ends. Let your power rise where I feel depleted. Let your peace quiet the chaos that drains me. Let your presence steady the trembling within me. As I reflect on the battles I have faced, I realize that surviving them has not been due to my own resilience, but because you have quietly sustained me, even when I did not recognize it. You have been the breath that helped me rise again, when I thought I could not. You have been the anchor that held me firm, when everything around me felt unstable. You have been the silent support beneath my most fragile days. And now, as I continue to grow in honesty and surrender, I ask you to renew my strength in a deeper way, not only for the challenges ahead, but for the healing that still needs to unfold within me. God, help me to trust that renewed strength does not always come in dramatic bursts. Sometimes it comes as a steady resilience that grows from quiet moments in your presence. Sometimes it comes as a thought that calms my mind. Sometimes it comes as a soft reassurance that I am not alone. Sometimes it comes as the courage to take one more step, even when my heart feels tired. Teach me to recognize the subtle ways you empower me, so I do not overlook the miracles hidden in small moments. As the morning deepens around me, I feel a gentle rise within my spirit, a sense that your strength is beginning to take root in the places that once felt shaky. The heaviness is not fully gone, but it no longer feels immovable. The fatigue still lingers, but it no longer feels defining. There is a quiet determination forming, not from me, but from the strength you are weaving into my heart. A strength that grows from surrender, from trust, from closeness with you. So I remain here, letting this renewed strength settle into me. Let it steady my breathing. Let it anchor my thoughts. Let it prepare my heart for whatever lies ahead. Let it remind me that I do not face my battles alone. And as I move toward the day that awaits me, let this strength be the undercurrent that carries me, quietly but powerfully, through every challenge, every decision, and every moment when I feel the old fatigue trying to return. Let this be the morning when I rise, not in my own strength, but in the strength that comes from being held by you. Lord, as this quiet strength begins to rise within me, I feel another truth gently pressing on my heart, a truth I have long struggled to face. Even as I learn to lean on your strength, there remains a lingering fear woven through the deeper layers of my spirit, a fear that has shaped my decisions, my relationships, my sense of worth, and even the way I approach you. It is a fear that has existed for years, sometimes loud, sometimes subtle, but always present, whispering that I am one mistake away from losing what matters, one step away from being abandoned, one failure away from proving I am unworthy of love. And now, as I sit in the growing calm of this morning, I sense you drawing me into a deeper healing, one that reaches into the core of my fears and begins to replace them with something far stronger. Father, you know the fears I carry even when I do not name them. You know the silent panic that stirs when I face uncertainty. You know the deep ache that rises when I feel overlooked or misunderstood. You know the anxiety that follows me through the day, whispering worst-case scenarios, replaying old wounds, magnifying insecurities. You know the fear of failure that makes me hesitant, the fear of rejection that keeps me guarded, the fear of loss that weighs heavily on my heart. These fears have shaped me more than I realized, influencing the way I see myself and the way I expect others to see me. God, as I rest in this moment, I can feel how tightly fear has held my heart, convincing me that caution is safer than trust, that distance is safer than vulnerability, that self-protection is safer than surrender. Fear has told me that I must always be prepared for disappointment, always expect abandonment, always brace myself for pain. And though your presence is gentle, these fears often make me shrink back, even from you, as if your love could disappear the moment I falter or disappoint you. But now, as your quiet strength becomes more familiar, I sense you inviting me to let that love reach deeper, into the places where fear once claimed ownership. Father, help me understand what it means for your love to cast out fear, not simply to comfort me temporarily, not simply to soothe a moment of anxiety, but to fundamentally change the way my heart responds to uncertainty. Teach me that fear cannot hold power where love is allowed to settle fully. Teach me that your love is not fragile, not conditional, not easily shaken. It does not vanish when I struggle. It does not withdraw when I fail. It does not lessen when I feel insecure. Your love remains steady, constant, and complete, offering a security that fear cannot break. As I reflect on this truth, I imagine your love as a calm, steady presence surrounding me like a warm shelter, not trapping me, but protecting me from the storm of anxious thoughts that so easily rises. I imagine this love filling the empty spaces where fear once whispered lies, replacing them with a gentle reassurance that I am held not because of what I do or who I manage to become, but simply because I am yours. And in that reassurance, I feel something loosening inside me, something that no longer wants to cling to fear as if it were a shield. Lord, teach me to release fear with honesty. Teach me to name the fears I have carried in silence. The fear of being unlovable. The fear of disappointing those I care about. The fear of not being enough. The fear of being too much. The fear of being abandoned. The fear of losing what matters. The fear of the unknown. The fear of my own weaknesses. I bring each of these before you now, not as accusations against myself, but as burdens you never intended me to carry alone. Let your love reach into each fear, touching it with tenderness, dissolving its grip, and replacing it with a deeper trust. Father, help me understand that courage is not the absence of fear, the presence of love that is stronger than fear. Help me feel that love in the small moments when anxiety rises, in the quiet seconds before I make a difficult decision, in the long nights when worries grow louder, in the fragile mornings when I feel unsteady. Let me sense your love as a steady foundation beneath my feet, giving me confidence to face what once overwhelmed me. God, remind me that fear loses its power when I allow myself to rest in your heart, when I remember that I am held by a love that does not shift with my emotions or my circumstances, when I trust that your love is not fragile or uncertain, but strong enough to carry me through every storm, when I believe that I am never alone, even when fear tries to convince me otherwise. As the morning light expands across the sky, I can feel your love expanding across the inner landscape of my heart, It reaches into the corners where old memories still ache. It touches the wounds that once reopened easily. It softens the tension that fear used to tighten within me. It brings warmth to the places that felt cold for years. I cannot explain how it happens, but I can feel the shift your love slowly, steadily pushing fear out of the spaces it once claimed. And so I remain here, letting this love continue its quiet work. Let it settle into my breathing. Let it anchor my thoughts. Let it calm the anxious rhythm that once shaped my days. Let it become the truth that guides me when fear tries to rise again. Let it remind me that I am stronger with you than I ever been alone. Let it whisper to the deepest parts of me that love, not fear, is meant to shape my future, my choices, my identity. As I prepare to step into the hours ahead, I ask for one simple grace. Let your love be the loudest voice I hear today. Let it guide the way I speak, the way I think, the way I move, the way I respond to challenges. Let it remind me that no matter what I face, I do not face it alone. And let it continue to cast out every fear that once tried to control my heart, replacing it with a peace that carries me forward in the quiet confidence of being deeply, securely, unconditionally loved by you. Father, as I continue resting beneath the steady warmth of your love, I feel another truth rising gently within me. A truth that draws my attention to the storms I have weathered, both the ones others have seen and the ones I have faced in silence. Even as your love calms the fear inside me, I cannot ignore how many times life has felt like a storm that struck without warning, leaving me shaken, unsettled, and unsure of where to turn. And now, as I sit with the awareness of your unwavering presence, I sense you inviting me to understand what it means to find refuge in you, not just in peaceful moments, but in the fiercest winds of my life. Lord, you know how often the storms came suddenly. You know the unexpected losses, the painful conversations, the broken trust, the moments that left me breathless with shock. You know the seasons that felt like one wave after another crashing over me, leaving me overwhelmed and fighting to stay afloat. You know the fears that rose when the foundations I relied on shifted beneath me. You know the nights when the storm outside seemed quieter than the storm within. And I lay awake wondering whether I would survive the emotional winds tearing through my heart. God, I have spent so much time trying to outrun these storms, pretending they did not affect me, or convincing myself that I could endure them alone if I simply held on tight enough. But storms have a way of revealing the places where I am not as strong as I thought, the places where my confidence is thin, the places where I desperately need a shelter that does not waver. And now, as your presence continues to quiet the lingering fears within me, I feel you calling me to stop running from the storms and to start running to you, to the refuge that has always been available even when I did not recognize it. As I breathe in the stillness of this morning, I imagine myself standing in the midst of a storm, rain falling hard, winds pushing against me with relentless force. It is not the kind of storm that ends quickly, nor the kind that can be ignored. It is the kind that demands a shelter, a place where the winds cannot reach and the rain cannot overwhelm. And in that image, I see a quiet refuge, a place carved not out of stone or wood, but out of your presence steady, welcoming, unshaken, a refuge where I am not judged for being afraid, where I am not expected to be strong, where I am invited to rest while the storm rages on outside. Father, help me understand that seeking refuge in you is not a retreat from responsibility, but a return to safety. Teach me that hiding in your presence does not mean denying reality, but facing it with protection around me that I cannot create on my own. Teach me that you do not ask me to pretend the storm is gentle. You simply ask me to remember that it is not stronger than your shelter. Let me feel the security of that refuge, not as an escape, but as a lifeline that steadies me and prepares me to endure what I cannot avoid. Lord, I bring before you the storms I am currently facing, the ones that linger even now, the situations that feel uncertain, the relationships that weigh heavily on my spirit, the decisions that feel too big for me, the emotional winds that make it hard to breathe, the unexpected shifts that leave me questioning the ground beneath my feet. I place them all before you, not as defeated confessions, but as honest acknowledgments that I cannot endure them without your refuge covering me. God, I ask you to help me recognize the ways you have already sheltered me, even in the moments when I did not realize it, the conversations that softened a blow I did not see coming, the strength that appeared when I thought I had none left, the peace that held me in the middle of overwhelming worry, the support that arrived at the exact moment I needed it most, the wisdom that guided me away from something harmful, the calm that settled over me for reasons I could not explain. Let these memories remind me that I have never walked through a storm alone. As I continue to sit in this gentle morning light, I feel a deeper longing to let your refuge become my first response rather than my last resort. I no longer want to turn to you only after I have exhausted every other option. I no longer want to hold on with clenched fists until I break. I no longer want to pretend I am unaffected until the storm swallows me. Teach me to run to you the moment the winds begin to rise, the moment I sense the pressure building, the moment uncertainty shakes my confidence. Teach me to trust that your presence is not merely comfort, but protection strong enough to hold me when nothing else feels steady. Father, let your presence become the safe space where I can exhale the fears I have carried, the anxieties I try to manage, the overwhelming thoughts that swirl like restless winds. Let me feel the peace that comes from knowing I am shielded by something stronger than the storm, something constant, something unchanged. Let this refuge become the place where my heart regains its rhythm, where my thoughts settle, where my spirit finds rest even as challenges continue outside. As the morning grows brighter, I feel a quiet assurance beginning to anchor itself within me. Not a promise that storms will never come, but a confidence that I will never face them unprotected again. I sense that you are teaching me a new way to move through life, not with fear, not with panic, not with the desperate urge to control what I cannot, but with a steady trust that I am covered by a presence that no storm can break. So I remain here a little longer, letting this awareness sink deeper. Let it strengthen me for the storms I have endured. Let it prepare me for the winds that may rise in the future. Let it remind me that no matter how fierce the storm becomes, I have a refuge that will not collapse. And as I step into the day ahead, let this truth carry me forward, not with trembling, but with quiet confidence, grounded in the shelter of your unwavering presence. Lord, as the awareness of your refuge continues to settle gently over my spirit, I feel another yearning rising within me, a longing not only to be sheltered in the storm, but to find true peace on the inside, a peace that remains steady regardless of what happens around me. The storm may rage, the winds may howl, and circumstances may shift without warning. Yet there is a deeper calm you invite me into, a calm that can anchor my thoughts, soften my reactions, and guide my heart back to stillness even when life feels overwhelming. And now, as I sit with the comforting truth that you are my refuge, I sense you drawing me further inward, into a place where your peace becomes not just a momentary relief, but a permanent anchor. Father, you know the inner turbulence I have carried for so long. You know how quickly my thoughts can spiral, how easily worries rise, how often anxiety tightens around my heart without warning. You know the invisible battles that happen beneath the surface, the tension I try to hide, the overwhelming thoughts that chase each other through my mind. Even when the outside world is quiet, the inside world can feel loud and restless. And as much as I long for calm, I often feel like peace slips through my fingers, replaced by uncertainty, fear, or the weight of responsibility. God, I realize that peace cannot simply be found by removing every challenge or fixing every situation. True peace is something deeper, something only you can create within me. It is the kind of peace that does not depend on circumstances aligning perfectly, the kind that does not disappear the moment something goes wrong. It is a peace rooted in the assurance of your presence, the confidence of your love, the steadiness of your protection. It is a peace that whispers through anxiety, that softens fear, that quiets the noise of my restless thoughts. As I breathe in this moment, I imagine myself stepping into a quiet and spacious place within, a place untouched by the storms outside, a place where your presence feels gentle and close. In that inner room, there is no pressure to perform, no expectation to be strong, no judgment for feeling overwhelmed. There is simply rest, the kind of rest I have been craving without even knowing it. And as I remain in this imagined space, I can feel my thoughts beginning to slow, my breath deepening, my heart finding a softer rhythm, as if your peace is gently settling into the places where tension once lived. Lord, help me understand what it means to live from this place of peace, not just visit it when life becomes too heavy. Teach me how to return to this inner room throughout the day, especially when my emotions begin to rise or my worries begin to grow loud. Teach me how to anchor myself in your truth before my thoughts rush ahead of me. Teach me how to listen for your voice instead of reacting to fear. Teach me how to carry this peace with me through every conversation, every responsibility, every moment when I am tempted to fall back into old patterns of anxiety. Father, I bring before you the areas of my life where inner peace feels fragile, the relationships that stir emotional tension, the responsibilities that make me feel stretched thin, the uncertainties that press on my chest like a weight, the memories that still echo with pain. the worries that resurface at quiet moments. I place all of these before you, not to erase them, but to invite your peace to transform the way I navigate them. Let your peace seep into my reactions, my decisions, my breathing, my thinking. Let it reshape the way I experience each moment. God, I ask you to help me recognize the subtle ways your peace already shows up in my life. The conversation that unexpectedly calmed my heart. The gentle thought that softened my worry. The quiet moment where I sensed comfort I could not explain. The smile that eased tension. The silence that brought clarity. The pause that allowed me to breathe again. These small moments are not accidents, they are your peace, touching my life in ways I often overlook. Help me become more aware of them, more grateful for them, more anchored by them. As the morning grows brighter around me, I can feel something softening deep within. The heaviness that once gripped my chest feels a little lighter. The restlessness in my thoughts feels a little quieter. The tension in my shoulders eases as I imagine your peace spreading gently through every part of my being. It is not a dramatic shift, but a slow, loving transformation, like the way dawn replaces night with a patient, steady light. I feel myself breathing easier, trusting more, holding less tightly onto the worries that once felt inescapable. Lord, let this peace continue its work inside me. Let it soften the sharp edges of fear. Let it quiet the echoes of past pain. Let it loosen the grip of anxiety. Let it slow down the racing thoughts. Let it bring rest to the weary parts of me. Let it become the foundation of my day, not just a moment of relief, but a steady presence that shapes the way I live, speak, and think. As I prepare to step into the responsibilities ahead, I ask for the grace to carry this peace with me, to protect it, to return to it whenever I feel myself drifting into worry. Let this peace become the lens through which I see challenges, the anchor that holds me steady, the gentle voice that reminds me that I am never navigating life alone. And as I move into the day you have given me, let this inner peace, your peace, remain with me, guiding me step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. Father, as the quiet peace you have planted within me continues to take root, I feel it brushing against parts of my heart that I have tried to ignore for years. Peace can be unsettling when it reaches places that were never allowed to rest, places I kept hidden beneath layers of distraction, survival, and self-protection. And as this gentle stillness settles deeper, I sense you drawing my attention to the wounds I have carried far too long. Wounds I learned to live with but never truly healed. Now, in this moment of honesty before you, I feel you inviting me to bring those wounds into the light, where your love can finally touch them. Lord, you know every wound that shaped me. You know the words that cut deeper than anyone realized. You know the disappointments that broke pieces of my confidence. You know the betrayals that left cracks in my trust. You know the losses that carved emptiness inside me. You know the moments when I felt unseen, unheard, or unvalued. You know the seasons where I carried pain quietly, pretending I was fine because I thought being strong meant being silent. You know the memories that still ache even after years have passed. The ones I do not speak of but still feel. God, I have spent so long covering these wounds with business, with distraction, with denial, with forced positivity. I told myself that time alone would heal them, but wounds buried alive never truly heal. They linger beneath the surface, shaping how I think, how I respond, how I trust, how I love, even how I pray. Some wounds taught me to fear closeness. Some taught me to expect disappointment. Some taught me to hide parts of myself. Some taught me that vulnerability leads to pain. And even now, as I sit with the peace you give, I feel those old wounds gently stirring, not to torment me, because you are inviting me into a deeper level of healing. As I breathe slowly, I imagine myself holding these memories in my hands, not gripping them tightly the way I once did, but offering them to you with trembling honesty. I imagine these wounds like fragile pieces of glass, once sharp enough to harm me, now carried with caution. In this image, you approach not with judgment or impatience, but with tenderness, as someone who understands how deeply these wounds shaped my life. There is no pressure in your presence, only a quiet invitation to let you heal what I was never meant to carry alone. Father, teach me how to let you into the places I have protected for so long. I confess that healing frightens me sometimes. It means revisiting pain I would rather forget. It means admitting that I am more affected than I appear. It means letting go of the defenses that once kept me safe. But here, in your presence, I sense that healing is not a demand, but a gift. You are not asking me to relive the pain, only to release its grip. You are not forcing me to reopen old wounds, only to let your love reach them. God, I bring before you the memories that still sting, the relationships that left marks, the times I felt unworthy, the moments when I internalized lies about myself because of someone else's brokenness, the times I blamed myself for things that were never my fault, the times I tried to be stronger than I was capable of being. I lay each of these before you, trusting that your tenderness is more powerful than the pain they hold. Lord, help me understand that healing does not erase the past, but transforms the way it lives within me. Let me learn to view these memories through the lens of compassion rather than shame. Help me see how far I have come rather than how much I lacked. Help me reclaim the parts of myself that were silenced or diminished because of these wounds. Let your healing restore the confidence I lost, the trust I withdrew, the joy that dimmed, the innocence that faded too early. As I sit in this moment, I sense your healing not as a sudden miracle, but as a slow, warm presence softening the hardened places inside me. I feel it loosening the tightness in my chest. I feel it calming the unspoken grief that rises unexpectedly. I feel it quieting the old fears that whisper when I am tired or vulnerable. It feels like a gentle light filtering into a dark room, not forcing anything away but allowing clarity, safety, and warmth to grow where shadows once lived. Father, help me forgive where forgiveness is needed, including the parts of myself that I have blamed unfairly. Help me release the bitterness that still clings to certain memories. Help me accept the parts of my story that I wish were different, not with resignation but with grace. Help me trust that you were present even in the moments that broke me, not causing the pain, but refusing to leave me alone in it. Let your healing rewrite the narrative of those wounds so that they no longer define me, but testify to your restoration. God, as the morning deepens and the light grows stronger outside, I sense that same light growing within me. Not a blinding light, but a gentle one, touching places that once remained untouched. This healing feels like a soft rebuilding of my inner world, layer by layer, breath by breath. I cannot rush it, and you do not ask me to. You simply ask me to remain open, to stay near, to let your presence continue its quiet work. So I stay here a little longer, letting this healing wash through me. Let it restore the parts of me wrapped in old pain. Let it soothe the places I have avoided. Let it bring new strength where old wounds once drained me. Let it breathe life into the areas that felt numb, and as I prepare to move into the day ahead, let this healing continue unfolding, guiding me gently toward wholeness, reminding me that nothing within me is beyond the reach of your restoring love. Lord, as your healing presence continues to move gently through the places I once kept hidden, I feel another realization rising quietly within me, one that touches deeper than the wounds themselves. Healing does not only mend what was broken, it creates space for something new to be built. Now that you have begun softening the painful memories and loosening the grip of old hurts, I sense you turning my attention toward the deeper question of identity, inviting me to rediscover who I am beyond the pain I have carried, beyond the fears that once defined me, beyond the expectations that shaped me. In this moment of honesty, you call me to rebuild my identity, not from the fragments of old wounds, but from the truth you speak over me. Father, you know how easily my sense of self has been shaped by the voices around me. You know the weight of the labels I accepted, even when they were untrue. You know the names I called myself in quiet moments, and names born from disappointment or shame. You know the fear of never being enough, the fear of being too much, the fear of failing, the fear of being overlooked. You know the pressure I felt to fit into expectations that never reflected who I truly am. You know the times I allowed criticism to define my worth, the times I allowed silence to make me feel invisible, the times I allowed comparison to shrink my confidence. God, I realize now that so much of my identity was shaped by survival, trying to avoid pain, trying to earn love, trying to secure acceptance, trying to keep peace, trying to protect myself from being hurt again. I adapted. I molded. I hid. I performed. I carried burdens that were not mine, all in an attempt to feel safe or valued. But those patterns were built around wounds, not truth. And now, as you gently heal those wounds, I feel the old structures inside me loosening, making room for something truer, something stronger, something rooted not in fear, but in your love. As I breathe in this quiet moment, I imagine myself standing in an open space where the old walls of self-protection have been taken down. The ground beneath me feels unfamiliar, not because it is unsafe, but because it is new. And in that space, I sense you speaking softly, reminding me that my identity was never meant to be built from the pieces of my past, but from the identity you designed for me long before I faced any wound, rejection, or disappointment. You call me chosen, loved, held, seen, worthy. You remind me that my value is not determined by what I accomplish, what others understand, or how perfectly I navigate life. My value is rooted in the simple truth that I belong to you. Lord, teach me how to embrace this truth with humility and courage. Show me the parts of my identity that were shaped by lies, so I can let them go. Reveal the behaviors that grew from insecurity so I can surrender them. Help me release the unrealistic expectations I placed on myself, the perfectionism that strangled joy, the fear of judgment that limited my voice. Teach me to see myself not through the lens of past wounds or human opinions, but through the eyes of the one who created me with intention and purpose. Father, I bring before you the parts of myself that feel uncertain, the talents I question, the desires I suppress, the dreams I doubt, the voice I silence. I bring the parts of me that feel unfinished or insufficient. I bring the strengths I am almost afraid to acknowledge, the potential I hesitate to believe in, the beauty I struggle to see. I ask that you reshape all of these pieces according to your truth, not my fears. Let your love redefine the way I view myself. Let your grace rewrite the narrative of who I am becoming. God, I ask you to show me the identity you see when you look at me. Show me the resilience you planted in me. Show me the compassion that grew from my experiences. Show me the strength that was built through my struggles. Show me the wisdom born from seasons of difficulty. Show me the courage that survived the storms. Show me the tenderness that developed in me through sorrow and renewal. Let me recognize the beauty that you have been cultivating quietly within me, even when I saw only brokenness. As the morning light continues softening the room around me, I feel a similar softening inside my spirit. I feel myself loosening my grip on the false identities I once clung to, the identities rooted in fear, insecurity, or past wounds. I feel a new awareness rising, a sense that I am more than I believed, more than what happened to me, more than the mistakes I made, more than the roles I played to stay safe. There is a quiet, growing confidence forming, not built on pride but on truth that I am made with purpose, loved without condition, and held with unwavering care. Lord, help me continue rebuilding this identity throughout the day ahead. Let your voice be the loudest one I hear when old doubts try to return. Let your truth steady me when I feel uncertain. Let your love remind me of my worth when old insecurities stir. Let this identity shape the way I walk, speak, love, and think. Let it strengthen my decisions, soften my reactions, and guide my steps. Let it remind me that my value does not shift with circumstances, mistakes, or opinions. As I sit in this stillness a little longer, I allow your truth to settle deeper. Let it dismantle every lie that once felt like truth. Let it rebuild what fear tried to destroy. Let it anchor me in who I truly am. And as I move into the day you have prepared, let me walk with quiet confidence, rooted not in what I fear, but in who you say I am. rebuilt from the inside out by the power of your love. Father, as the truth of who I am in you continues to settle more firmly within my heart, I feel another stirring rising quietly inside me, a stirring that feels both hopeful and intimidating. It is the awareness that identity and purpose are woven together, that discovering who I truly am inevitably leads me toward what I am meant to do. And now, as your healing and truth rebuild the foundation of my inner world, I sense you gently calling me to step into the purpose you have always held for me, purpose I have often felt but hesitated to fully embrace. Lord, you know how many times I sensed a pull towards something greater, yet drew back because of fear. You know the dreams I hid because they seemed too fragile. You know the ideas I dismissed because I doubted my ability. You know the desires I quieted because they felt too bold or too different. You know the moments when I felt a spark of calling inside me, but quickly smothered it under the weight of insecurity. You know the ways I talked myself out of opportunities, convinced they were meant for someone stronger, someone braver, someone more prepared than I felt. God, I realize now that so much of my hesitation came from a fractured identity, from seeing myself through the lens of old wounds, rather than through the truth you speak over me. I allowed fear to question what you planted. I allowed doubt to silence what you ignited. I allowed comparison to shrink the path you were building before me. But now, as you restore the broken places inside me and rebuild the truth of who I am, I feel a shift. I feel a quiet courage rising, not loud or dramatic, but steady, like a gentle push forward from within. As I breathe in this moment, I imagine standing at the edge of a path I have seen often but rarely dared to walk. It stretches forward not in harsh clarity, but in gentle possibility. The way ahead is not fully revealed, yet something in me recognizes it, as though it is a path I was meant to walk long before I was aware of it. I feel you beside me, not pushing me, but inviting me, reminding me that purpose is not about perfection but obedience. Not about certainty, but trust. Not about being fully prepared, but being willing. Father, teach me what it means to step into purpose with courage. Help me understand that courage does not eliminate fear, but chooses to move forward anyway. Let me see that purpose is not a single dramatic calling, but a daily willingness to say yes to the things you place before me. The small moments of kindness, the quiet opportunities to speak life, the decisions that align with truth, the acts of faith that stretch me beyond comfort, the steps that feel ordinary but build into something meaningful over time. Lord, I bring before you the areas where I still hesitate, the dreams that feel too daunting, the responsibilities that feel too heavy, the goals that feel beyond my abilities, the opportunities I do not feel equipped for, the calling that whispers louder than my confidence. I lay all these uncertainties before you, asking not for a guarantee of success, but for the courage to begin. The courage to trust that if you call me to something, you will also equip me for it. God, remind me of the gifts you placed inside me, the passions that move my heart, the skills that come naturally, the compassion that grew through my struggles, the resilience shaped by my storms, the wisdom formed through healing. These pieces of me are not accidents. They are part of my purpose, Help me recognize them without minimizing them. Help me honor them without fear. Help me walk in them boldly, knowing they are expressions of your design, not evidence of my pride. As I continue sitting in this gentle morning light, I feel a new awareness settling over me, not only of who I am, but of who I am becoming. This purpose no longer feels like a pressure, but a partnership, a journey where you walk with me, shaping my steps, opening doors, bringing clarity, giving strength. I sense that stepping into purpose will not always feel comfortable. It will challenge me. It will stretch me. It will ask more of me than I sometimes think I have. But it will also awaken something within me that was always meant to live. Something that comes alive when I align my life with your intention. Father, help me let go of the fear of failing. Let me release the fear of disappointing others. Let me surrender the expectation of having everything figured out. Let me trust that purpose unfolds one step at a time, and that each step, no matter how small, matters. Remind me that progress is still progress, even when it feels slow. Remind me that obedience is more important than perfection. Remind me that purpose is not proven by immediate success, but by consistent faithfulness. Lord, guide me in the practical ways to walk in this purpose. Give me clarity in decisions. Give me discernment in relationships. Give me wisdom in timing. Give me patience when progress feels invisible. Give me boldness when opportunities arise. Give me humility when I am tempted to doubt or compare. Let your voice lead me more clearly than the noise around me. Let your truth steady my confidence when uncertainty tries to shake it. As this morning deepens, I feel the courage you are growing within me becoming more tangible, not a loud, explosive courage, but a quiet kind, the kind that stands, breathes deeply, and says yes even when the outcome is unknown. The kind that trusts your hand more than my fears. The kind that believes my life has purpose not because I am extraordinary, but because you are. So I remain here a little longer, letting this courage settle deeper into my spirit. Let it fill the spaces once occupied by insecurity. Let it strengthen the areas once weakened by fear. Let it guide my steps as I move toward the purpose you have prepared. And as I rise to enter the day ahead, let me walk not with hesitation, but with the confidence that comes from being called, equipped, and accompanied by you, Lord, as the courage to step into the purpose you have prepared continues to unfold within my heart. I feel another longing rising quietly alongside it, a longing not just to discover my purpose, but to walk with you in the ordinary rhythm of daily life. It becomes clear to me that purpose is not a moment, or a single decision, or some dramatic calling. It is a continuous journey made of many small steps. And now, as I consider the path ahead, I sense you drawing me into a deeper invitation, one that goes beyond clarity or courage. You are inviting me to learn how to walk with you consistently, tenderly, and faithfully, moment by moment, day by day. Father, you know how easily I drift when life becomes busy. You know the days when I rush ahead without pausing to seek your guidance. You know the times when distractions steal my attention before I even realize it. You know the moments when stress becomes louder than your voice, when routine becomes more familiar than reflection, when my own plans overshadow the quiet leading of your spirit. You know how quickly I slip back into patterns of self-reliance, even after experiencing the peace and strength that come from being near you. God, I am learning that walking with you is not simply about seeking you in moments of crisis or inspiration. It is about inviting you into every part of my life, the simple, the mundane, the ordinary moments that fill most of my days. It is about choosing to stay aware of your presence, even when nothing dramatic is happening. It is about noticing your gentle nudges, recognizing your whispers, responding to your quiet invitations. It is about aligning my thoughts with yours, not only in prayer, but in conversations, decisions, attitudes, and pauses. As I breathe in the stillness of this morning, I imagine the day ahead like a long, unfolding path. Not overwhelming, not intimidating, but spacious and open, with countless small moments where I can choose to walk with you or walk alone, and I sense you beside me. Not rushing, not demanding, simply ready to walk with me if I will slow my pace enough to notice you. There is a softness in this companionship, a steady warmth that assures me I do not need to hurry to earn your presence. I simply need to remain aware of it. Lord, teach me how to walk with you in a way that feels natural. Teach me how to carry the awareness of your presence into my thoughts before they spiral into worry. Teach me how to invite you into my reactions before they take shape. Teach me how to pause quietly before responding, choosing wisdom instead of impulse. Teach me how to reflect before acting, listening for your guidance instead of leaning on my assumptions. Teach me to weave prayer into the rhythm of my day, not as a formal interruption, but as a continual conversation, gentle, honest, and open. Father, I bring before you the parts of my daily life where it is hardest for me to stay aware of you, the busy responsibilities that drain my attention, the difficult interactions that stir frustration, the pressures that make me tense and hurried, the tasks that feel repetitive or mundane, the moments when my mind wanders without direction. I ask that you meet me in each of these places and remind me that walking with you is possible even in the busiest rhythms. The challenges, the quiet chores, the ordinary hours. God, help me recognize the subtle ways you are already present in my day, the calm that touches me before anxiety fully rises, the clarity that appears right when I need it, the patience that surprises me in a difficult moment, the thought that softens anger, the instinct to choose kindness, the strength to hold back a reaction I might regret. These moments are not accidental. They are signs of you walking beside me, even when I am barely aware of it. Help me grow more attentive to these gentle movements of your presence. As I sit in this unfolding morning light, I feel a growing desire to let my entire day become an offering, a continuous openness to your presence, rather than isolated moments of devotion. I sense that walking with you is not about trying harder, but about trusting deeper. It is about remembering that you are already with me, and allowing that truth to shape the way I move, breathe, speak, and think. I do not need to create your presence. I only need to acknowledge it. Lord, let my steps today be guided not by urgency but by intention. Let my decisions be shaped not by pressure but by your peace. Let my conversations be influenced not by fear but by grace. Let my responses be softened by patience. Let my thoughts be anchored in truth. Let my pace be steady, never rushed, never frantic, but aligned with the gentle rhythm of your spirit. Remind me that productivity does not measure my closeness to you, and that slowing down to listen is not weakness, but wisdom. Father, give me the humility to admit when I am drifting, and the willingness to return quickly when I do. Let returning to you be a familiar motion, like breathing, natural, necessary, life-giving. Let your presence become the quiet background of my entire day, shaping my internal world, even when the external world feels chaotic. Let this companionship with you become the anchor that holds me steady through uncertainty, the comfort that steadies my emotions, the clarity that guides my choices. As I linger in this gentle calm a little longer, I feel a new steadiness forming within me, not a dramatic burst of inspiration, but a quiet readiness to walk with you through the ordinary flow of my day. I feel a desire to let every small moment be touched by your presence. I feel an openness to your leading, not only in big decisions, but in the quiet choices that shape who I am becoming. I sense that this daily companionship is what will give life to my purpose, sustain my courage, and deepen the peace that has begun taking root within me. So I remain here, letting this readiness settle into my spirit. Let it guide my steps. Let it shape my pace. Let it soften my heart. Let it remind me that I am never walking alone. And as I move into the day you have given me, let my every step become a quiet yes to walking with you, allowing your presence to shape every moment, every breath, every step along the way. Father, as I continue reflecting on what it means to walk with you through the ordinary rhythm of my days, I feel another quiet truth rising within me, one that challenges me more deeply than I expected. Walking with you daily also means trusting you when your answers are not immediate, when the things I pray for do not unfold as quickly as my heart hopes, when the path ahead feels slower and more uncertain than I desire. And now, as I rest in the gentle awareness of your nearness, I sense you inviting me to face the reality of waiting, to see waiting not as the absence of your work, as a sacred place where trust is strengthened and my faith matures. Lord, you know how difficult waiting has always been for me. You know the impatience that stirs when I cannot see progress. You know the discouragement that rises when I feel stuck. You know the quiet doubts that whisper when time passes and nothing seems to change. You know the way my heart tightens with questions I do not say aloud. You know how often I have taken silence as abandonment, when in truth, silence may simply be preparation. You know the times I tried to force solutions because waiting felt too heavy, too slow, too painful to endure. God, I bring before you the prayers I've carried the longest, the ones I whisper often, the ones filled with longing, the ones tied to the deepest hopes of my heart. Some of these prayers feel old, worn from years of waiting. Some feel freshly tender. Some carry gratitude. Some carry H. Some hold hope. Some hold disappointment. And yet, even in the tension of unanswered prayers, I sense you drawing me closer, not pushing me away. I sense that this waiting is not punishment, but invitation, calling me deeper into trust, deeper into surrender, deeper into relationship. As I sit in the quiet of this morning, I imagine myself standing at the edge of a field where seeds have been planted beneath the soil. Nothing is visible on the surface. From the outside, it looks unchanged, even empty. But beneath the ground, life is forming quietly in ways I cannot see. And I sense you reminding me that waiting is like this. Feel things are happening even when the surface looks still. Your timing is at work even when my eyes see no progress. My prayers are not forgotten. They are growing roots beneath the soil of trust. Father, teach me what it means to trust you in the waiting. Teach me to release the pressure I place on myself to make things happen. Teach me to surrender the timelines I cling to. Teach me to believe that waiting is not wasted. Let me recognize that patience is not weakness, but strength built slowly in silence. That surrender is not defeat, but the deepest form of confidence. That stillness is not inactivity, but a place where resilience forms and faith deepens. Lord, confess the fears that make waiting difficult. The fear that nothing will change. The fear that I am asking too much. The fear that I am hoping for the impossible. The fear that the delay means denial. I lay these fears before you honestly, trusting that you understand every emotion behind them. Help me shift my focus from what I cannot see to the one who sees everything. Help me anchor my heart not in outcomes, but in your character steady, faithful, unwavering. God, help me notice the quiet ways you are working even now, the conversations that soften my heart, the insight that arrives unexpectedly, the strength that grows day by day, the opportunities that develop slowly, the connections forming beneath the surface, the resilience being shaped within me. These are signs of your hand at work, even when I perceive only silence. Teach me to see the hidden movement of grace beneath the stillness. As the morning light continues to rise, I sense something settling gently within me, a slow, quiet acceptance that your timing is not meant to frustrate me, but to protect me. I feel a softening toward the idea that delays may hold purpose I cannot yet grasp, that the doors not opening are not rejections but redirections, that the slow seasons may be preparing me for responsibilities I could not yet carry, that the pauses may be shaping me into the person I need to be for the blessings I long for. Father, let trust become the foundation I stand on when waiting stretches long. Let me return to the truth that you are good even when I do not understand. Let me find steadiness in the knowledge that you do not withhold anything meant for me. Let me remember that your timing is woven with wisdom far beyond my own. Let waiting become a place of deepening, not discouragement. Lord, give me daily strength as I wait. Give me patience that does not crumble under pressure. Give me hope that remains gentle but persistent. Give me peace that quiets the restless thoughts. Give me clarity when doubt tries to cloud my vision. Give me faith that does not depend on visible progress. Give me resilience to continue walking even when answers feel far away. As I rest in this moment a little longer, I recognize that waiting is not something I must endure alone. You wait with me, strengthening me, shaping me, nurturing the seeds of faith you planted long ago. And as I prepare to step into the day ahead, let the truth of your companionship steady my steps. Let trust take root deep within me. Let hope rise quietly but undeniably. Let the awareness of your timing guide my thoughts. And let this waiting become a sacred space where my heart learns to rest fully in you. Lord, as I continue sitting with the truth that your timing is never late and never careless, I feel another gentle prompting rising within me, one that reaches into the deepest habits of my heart. Trusting you in delayed answers has revealed something I have struggled with for much of my life, the urge to control. Even as I believe in your goodness, there is still a part of me that tries to manage outcomes, anticipate problems, protect myself from disappointment, or force solutions when waiting feels uncomfortable. And now, in the quiet of this moment, I sense you inviting me into a deeper surrender, one that loosens my grip on the things I have been holding too tightly and teaches me how to rest in the security of your hands. Father, you know how deeply ingrained this urge for control has been within me. You know the fears that gave birth to it, the fear of being hurt again, the fear of being unprepared, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of failing, the fear of losing what matters most. You know how often I have tried to plan every possibility in advance, so I would never be caught off guard. You know the way I analyze conversations long after they end, trying to protect my heart in hindsight. You know the nights I lay awake replaying events or imagining outcomes, trying to hold everything together through the strength of my thoughts alone. God, I realize now that control has been my shield, heavy, exhausting, and ultimately ineffective. It gave me the illusion of safety, but never the reality of peace. It kept me alert, but never allowed me to rest. It made me feel responsible for everything, but left me overwhelmed by things I was never meant to carry. And as I breathe slowly in your presence, I sense you gently loosening this shield from my hands. Not forcefully, but with tenderness, as someone who knows how long I have depended on it for a sense of protection. As I reflect on this, I imagine myself holding a tightly clenched rope, my hands strained and tired from gripping it for years. This rope represents every area I tried to control, the outcomes I could not predict, the people I could not change, the situations I could not fix, the fears I could not quiet. And in this image, you stand before me with open hands, inviting me to release the rope and rest my hands in yours. There is no condemnation in your voice, only compassion, as if you understand how exhausting it has been to hold on so tightly. Father, teach me how to let go, not as an act of defeat, but as an act of trust. Help me release the illusion that my carefulness can prevent pain. Help me surrender the belief that everything depends on my strength. Help me understand that letting go does not mean losing control of my life. It means placing my life into the hands of the one who sees farther. knows deeper, and loves stronger than I ever could. Let surrender become the path that leads me into freedom, not fear. Lord, I bring before you the specific places where I am still holding on tightly. The worries about tomorrow, the decisions that feel heavy, the responsibilities that overwhelm me, the unresolved situations that stir anxiety, the relationships I try to protect with my own effort, the dreams I fear will slip away if I am not vigilant. I place each of these into your care, acknowledging that my grip cannot sustain them, but your hands can. God, I ask you to help me recognize the subtle ways control still sneaks into my heart, the tension in my chest when circumstances shift unexpectedly, the frustration that rises when my plans unravel, the fear that spikes when I do not have answers, the impulse to react quickly instead of pausing to listen. These moments reveal where I have placed my trust in my own strength rather than in your faithfulness. Help me notice these signs not with shame, but with awareness, using them as reminders to return to you. As the morning continues to unfold, I sense a quiet invitation within me, an invitation to experience peace, not as the absence of challenges, but as the product of surrender. I begin to understand that peace flows naturally when I am not fighting to control what is beyond my reach. Peace rises when I stop rehearsing every possible future. Peace grows when I let go of the pressure to manage what only you can handle. Peace becomes real when I trust that whatever comes, you will meet me there with wisdom, strength, and grace. Father, let this surrender reach beyond my thoughts and into my everyday actions. Teach me to pause before taking matters into my own hands. Teach me to breathe before reacting. Teach me to ask for your guidance rather than forcing decisions. Teach me to trust the quiet instincts that come from your spirit. Let surrender become a posture I carry with me, not a moment I visit occasionally. Lord, remind me that letting go is not passive, is active trust. It is choosing to release what weighs me down so I can hold on to what truly matters. It is making space for your plans by setting aside my need for control. It is stepping into the unknown with confidence because I know who walks beside me. It is believing that even if I cannot predict the future, I can trust the one who holds it. As I linger in this peaceful moment, I feel something softening inside me, a willingness I once lacked, a readiness to loosen my grip, a quiet acceptance that your way is better than mine. The knot of tension I often carry feels lighter. The pressure to figure everything out feels smaller. The burden of responsibility feels shared, no longer resting on my shoulders alone. Father, let this growing surrender become the anchor of my day. Let it shape the way I approach decisions, relationships, responsibilities, and uncertainties. Let it remind me to return to you whenever anxiety begins to tighten its grip. Let it draw me back into peace when I feel myself slipping into old patterns of control. Let it help me trust that I can release my hold without fear, because nothing I release from my hands ever falls out of yours. So I remain here a little longer, letting this surrender settle deeply within me. Let it reshape my thoughts, soften my expectations, and calm my spirit. And as I step into the day ahead, let me walk with open hands, trusting that the safest place for my life my hopes, and my future is always within your steady, loving, sovereign care. Father, as the surrender of control settles gently into my spirit, I feel a deeper quiet beginning to form inside me. A quiet I have not often known. A quiet that feels like fertile ground for something new to grow. And in this unfolding silence, I sense you inviting me into a practice I have long struggled with, not because I did not desire it, but because I rarely slowed down enough to embrace it. You are inviting me to learn how to listen, not simply to pray, not simply to speak, not simply to pour out my heart, but to listen to hear your guidance. Your whispers, the gentle movements of your spirit that often go unnoticed when my mind is loud and my pace is hurried. Lord, you know how easily I fill the silence with my own thoughts. You know how quickly I move from one worry to another, one plan to another, one responsibility to the next. You know that listening does not come naturally to me. I am accustomed to seeking clarity through thinking, through analyzing, through planning, through trying to solve things on my own strength. And yet, in all of my efforts, I often forget that wisdom is not born from my striving, but from your voice, quiet, steady, and always present for those who slow down enough to notice. God, I want to learn what it means to hear you, truly hear you, not only in moments of crisis, not only in moments of dramatic revelation, but in the gentle rhythm of daily life. Teach me how to recognize the subtle ways you speak, through peace that settles unexpectedly, through discomfort that signals caution, through clarity that rises in a moment of stillness, through a soft conviction that invites change, through a thought that carries wisdom not my own, through scripture that suddenly feels alive with personal meaning. As I sit with this desire, I imagine myself walking through a quiet field at dawn. The air is still, the horizon soft, the world unhurried. In this space, every sound becomes clearer, the subtle shift of leaves, the distant call of birds, the soft movement of the wind. And as I picture myself in this scene, I realize that listening spiritually is much the same. It requires stillness. It requires margin. It requires space within me where noise cannot crowd out the gentle sound of your leading. It is not something I can hear at the pace of anxiety or distraction. It is something I hear when I slow down enough to be present. Father, help me create this inner stillness. Help me resist the urge to fill every quiet moment with thoughts or tasks. Help me choose presence over speed. Help me choose awareness over restlessness. Help me let silence become a place of encounter rather than discomfort. Let me learn to sit quietly without rushing to conclusions, without forcing answers, without trying to predict outcomes. Let this stillness become the ground where your voice can be heard more clearly. Lord, I confess that listening sometimes frightens me. I fear hearing something that requires change. I fear recognizing areas where I must let go. Fear being guided into places that stretch me. I fear facing truths I have avoided. And yet, even as these fears rise, I feel the gentle reassurance that whatever you speak is rooted in love, not in condemnation. You do not reveal truth to shame me, but to guide me. You do not call me into change to burden me, but to free me. Your voice is not harsh, It is healing. Your guidance is not heavy. It is wise. God, I ask you to refine the way I listen, not only to your spirit, but also to the people around me. Teach me to hear without assuming. Teach me to receive without defending. Teach me to be present without rushing. Teach me to pause before responding. Teach me to understand before forming opinions. Listening is not only a spiritual discipline, but a relational one, and I ask that you shape me into someone whose presence brings calm rather than haste, someone who hears deeply rather than superficially. As the morning light softens the world around me, I feel a longing to let listening become a natural part of my day, not something reserved only for prayer, but something woven into my decisions, my actions, my reactions. I want to move at a pace where I can notice the gentle prompts of your spirit, the nudge that encourages compassion, the hesitation that warns me to pause, the inspiration that invites courage, the peace that signals alignment, the tension that asks for reevaluation. These movements are subtle, but they are life-giving when I pay attention. Father, give me discernment to distinguish your voice from my fears, from my assumptions, from my habits, from the noise of the world around me. Let your voice become familiar, recognizable, steady. Let it shape my inner world so deeply that I can sense its leading without confusion. Let your truth rise above the voices of doubt, insecurity, and distraction. Let your guidance reach me even in busy moments, because my spirit has learned to notice you. Lord, I ask you to open my ears to the unexpected ways you speak. Through moments of gratitude, through a sudden sense of direction, through a reminder I did not expect, through beauty that captures my attention, through compassion that stirs my heart, through a phrase that lingers longer than the others, through silence that feels full instead of empty. These are not coincidences. They are invitations into deeper awareness. As I linger in this quiet moment, I feel my spirit settling into a posture of readiness, not demanding answers, not chasing certainty. Simply open, simply attentive, simply willing to hear whatever you choose to speak, whether it is comfort, correction, encouragement, or guidance. I feel myself loosening the need for immediate clarity and embracing instead the joy of being guided by someone who more deeply than I can comprehend. Father, let this desire to listen accompany me into the day ahead. Let it slow my steps just enough to notice the subtle movements of grace. Let it soften my reactions. Let it shape my decisions. Let it turn ordinary moments into opportunities for encounter. As I rise from this place, let me carry a deep awareness of your nearness, trusting that you are always speaking in ways my spirit can learn to recognize. Father, as I sit with this growing desire to listen to you more deeply, I begin to sense the next gentle pull rising within my heart, an invitation that feels both tender and weighty. Listening is only the first step. The next is learning to walk in obedience to what I hear, not obedience driven by fear or pressure, not by obligation or guilt, but obedience rooted in trust, shaped by love, and strengthened by a desire to walk closely with you. And as I breathe slowly in this quiet morning, I sense you inviting me to let obedience become the natural overflow of listening, a response born from closeness rather than command. Lord, you know that obedience has not always come easily to me. You know the internal struggle I often feel between what my heart senses from you and what my fears whisper in opposition. You know the times I delayed obedience because I felt unprepared. The times I questioned whether I heard you correctly. The times I hesitated because I feared the cost of stepping forward. You know the moments when I chose comfort over courage, familiarity over faith, predictability over trust. And yet, even in these moments, you did not withdraw from me. You continued to guide me patiently, waiting for my heart to soften and open again. God, I realize now that true obedience is not about performing well, but about trusting deeply. It is not about achieving perfection, but about choosing alignment, letting my steps match the direction of your leading. And as I sit with this truth, I imagine myself standing on a path where each step glows only as I move forward. I cannot see far ahead, but I sense that obedience is what causes the light to appear beneath my feet. It is a journey of trust, one decision at a time, one small step after another. As I reflect on this, I imagine a gentle conversation unfolding between us, not rushed, not pressured, but warm and honest. In this quiet exchange, I sense you reminding me that obedience is not meant to be heavy. It is the expression of a heart that knows it is loved. It is the action that follows listening, the movement that follows conviction, the expression of faith in motion. And I feel something loosening inside me, something that no longer wants to resist the path you place before me, but wants instead to walk it with steady footsteps. Father, teach me how to obey with a willing spirit. Teach me how to respond quickly when your guidance comes softly. Teach me to trust the direction even when I do not see the full purpose. Help me understand that obedience is not about understanding everything before stepping forward, but about trusting your heart more than my own reasoning. Help me choose your voice over my fears, your wisdom over my assumptions, your timing over my impatience. Lord, I bring before you the areas where obedience feels hardest, the conversations I avoid because they feel vulnerable, the choices I postpone because I fear change, the boundaries I hesitate to set because I fear rejection, the opportunities I delay because I doubt myself, the habits I cling to because they feel safe even when they no longer serve my growth. I place all of these before you, asking for courage, not dramatic courage, but quiet, consistent courage that expresses trust more than confidence. God, help me recognize that obedience is often built in the small moments, not only the big ones, in choosing patience instead of irritation, in responding with gentleness instead of defensiveness, in turning away from temptation instead of rationalizing it, in choosing truth when dishonesty feels easier, in reaching out when silence feels safer, in stepping back when pride wants to push forward. These choices may seem small, but they shape who I am becoming. They teach my heart to follow your leading, even when no one else sees. As the morning continues to brighten, I sense the connection between listening and obedience becoming clearer. Listening opens the door. Obedience steps through it. Listening aligns my heart with yours. Obedience aligns my actions. Listening stills the noise inside me. Obedience transforms the way I move through the world. Both are needed. Both are sacred. Both draw me deeper into the relationship you desire with me. Father, give me discernment to recognize the difference between my impulses and your guidance. Help me sense when I am being led by fear instead of faith. Help me identify when resistance is coming from wounds, habits, or old patterns that you are trying to free me from. Help me distinguish between hesitation born from wisdom and hesitation born from distrust. Let obedience become an invitation to grow, not a burden to carry. Lord, I ask that you fill my internal world with the kind of peace that accompanies obedience, not the peace that comes from easy decisions, but the peace that flows from alignment, the deep, grounding peace that whispers, I am exactly where I need to be, doing exactly what you are asking of me. Let obedience rewrite the stories of doubt inside me. Let it become the steady rhythm of my heart, shaping my days not out of obligation, but out of love. As I linger here a little longer, I feel a quiet willingness beginning to take root. It is not loud or dramatic, but steady and sincere. I feel myself longing to respond to your leading, quickly rather than cautiously, softly rather than reluctantly, freely rather than fearfully. I sense that obedience will not always be easy, but it will always be sacred, always meaningful, always part of the transformation you are working within me. Father, let obedience shape the way I move through today. Let it guide my conversations, influence my decisions, soften my reactions, and steady my steps. Let it remind me that every moment carries an opportunity to respond to your love with trust. As I rise from this place and move forward into the day you have prepared, let my heart remain attentive, my steps remain aligned, and my spirit remain willing, ready to listen, ready to respond, ready to walk with you wherever you lead. God, as the desire to walk in obedience continues to grow within me, I sense a quiet awareness rising alongside it, an awareness of my own limitations, my own frailty, my own need for strength that goes beyond what I can produce on my own. Obedience feels beautiful when I imagine it in my mind, but when I face the real moments where courage is required, where consistency is needed, where perseverance becomes the only path forward, I recognize how easily my energy fades. And now, as I breathe slowly in this soft morning stillness, I feel you inviting me into a deeper understanding. Obedience was never meant to be sustained by my strength alone. It can only be carried by yours. Lord, you know how quickly my resolve can weaken. You know the days when motivation rises like a flame, only to dim when challenges appear. You know the moments when my confidence spills over, and the moments when it collapses beneath the weight of doubt. You know the times I begin with enthusiasm but struggle to continue when the journey stretches long. You know the seasons when weariness becomes louder than hope, when frustration grows heavier than determination, when discouragement feels stronger than intention. You know how often I face the limits of my human strength. Father, I am realizing now that these limits are not failures. They are reminders of my need for you. They reveal the truth that I was never meant to walk this path alone, never meant to sustain myself through mere willpower, never meant to produce spiritual endurance through effort alone. You do not expect me to be unbreakable. You simply invite me to be open enough to receive the strength you offer. And as I sit quietly in your presence, I sense a gentle reassurance that your strength does not come as a sudden rush of energy, but as a steady presence, faithful, calming, empowering. As I reflect on this, I imagine myself standing at the base of a long path, stretching upward. It is not impossible, but it is steep. In the past, I would have tried to climb it through sheer determination, clenching my jaw, pushing myself relentlessly. But now, in this moment of clarity, I imagine you stepping beside me, not to remove the path, not to shorten it, but to strengthen me for the journey. Your presence becomes like a steady hand at my back, reminding me that each step forward, no matter how small, is enough. Lord, teach me what it means to receive strength from you, not borrowed strength, not temporary confidence, but the kind of strength that flows from knowing I am held, guided, supported. Teach me to recognize the moments when my heart begins to weaken and to turn to you rather than turning inward. Teach me to breathe deeply and slowly when anxiety rises. Teach me to anchor myself in truth when doubt grows loud. Teach me to pace myself with grace instead of pushing myself with pressure. God, I bring before you the areas where I feel most tired, the responsibilities that drain me, the tasks that feel overwhelming, the relationships that require patience, the decisions that demand clarity, the seasons that stretch longer than I expected, the emotions that fluctuate unexpectedly. I lay all of these before you with honesty, not to complain, but to acknowledge that I cannot carry them in my own power. Let your strength fill the spaces where mine wears thin. Father, help me recognize the subtle ways strength already flows from you, the peace that steadies me in moments of stress, the endurance that appears on days when I thought I had none left, the clarity that rises when confusion seemed certain, the calmness that enters my heart in the middle of chaos, the resilience that wakes up inside me after difficult nights. These are not self-created. They are gifts. They are evidence that you are strengthening me even when I do not realize it. As the morning light brightens the room around me, I feel a similar brightness forming within. Not a sudden burst of energy, but a gentle strengthening like the way dawn slowly overtakes the darkness. I realize that receiving strength from you is not about feeling powerful. It is about becoming grounded. It is about feeling supported from within. It is about moving with a confidence that does not depend on circumstances. It is about trusting that each step is enough, even when I do not feel strong. Lord, teach me to return to you throughout the day for renewed strength, not only in long prayers, but in quiet moments of breath, a pause, a whispered request. Let my heart become attentive to the way your strength comes gently, steadily, consistently. Let it become natural for me to lean on you instead of pushing myself beyond my limits. Let my dependence on you be my greatest source of calm, not my greatest insecurity. God, help me release the belief that I must appear strong at all times. Teach me that vulnerability is not weakness but honesty. Teach me that admitting my need is not failure but wisdom. Teach me that receiving strength from you is not a last resort, but the foundation of a life lived with depth and purpose. Let humility become the doorway through which your strength enters. As I linger here a little longer, I feel myself relaxing in a way I rarely allow. I feel the tension in my chest loosening, the tightness in my thoughts dissolving, the pressure of self-reliance lifting. I feel myself resting not because everything is solved, but because I no longer feel alone in carrying it. This rest is not an escape, it is a renewal. It is the place where strength begins. Father, let this renewed strength accompany me through the day ahead. Let it shape the way I face challenges, respond to obstacles, and navigate responsibilities. Let it become the quiet force that keeps me steady when my emotions shift. Let it guide my reactions, stabilize my thoughts, and empower my choices. Let it remind me that I am sustained by a strength far greater than my own. As I rise from this moment of quiet, let me carry the truth that you strengthen me not once, not occasionally, but continually. Let this truth become the rhythm of my day, the grounding of my heart, and the steady reminder that I can move forward not because I am strong, but because I am held by the one who is. Father, as the awareness of your strength settles more deeply into my spirit, I find myself longing for something that feels just as essential, just as life-giving, just as transformative as strength itself. I long for peace, not the fragile peace that depends on circumstances, not the temporary stillness that fades when life becomes loud, but the deep, unshakable peace that only comes from you. And as I breathe slowly in this quiet space, I sense you drawing me into a deeper understanding of peace, inviting me to receive it, to guard it, and to let it shape the way I move through every moment of my day. Lord, you know how easily my inner peace can be disturbed. You know the way my thoughts can spin quickly, the way my emotions can rise suddenly, the way my fears can flare without warning. You know how easily I can be pulled into worry by a single, unexpected situation or overwhelmed by responsibilities that appear all at once. You know that even when I appear calm on the outside, my mind can sometimes feel like a storm swirling, restless, uncertain. And yet, even in those moments, I sense that you are offering a peace that does not depend on the conditions around me. It is a peace that flows from your presence, not from my control. God, I want to understand this peace more fully. Teach me what it means to anchor my heart in you so deeply that external pressures no longer dictate the state of my soul. Teach me how to release the tension that builds inside me without realizing it. Teach me how to breathe in a way that softens the weight I carry. Teach me how to pause when anxiety rises, long enough to remember that I am not facing anything alone. Teach me to return again and again to the quiet assurance that you are with me in every moment. As I reflect on this longing, I imagine myself sitting near a still body of water at dawn. The surface is smooth, untouched, reflecting the soft light of the sky with perfect clarity. And I sense you showing me that peace is much like this water. It reflects your light most clearly when it is still, when my spirit is stirred by fear or shaken by uncertainty. I can no longer see with clarity, but when I allow myself to settle in your presence, when I quiet the noise and release the tension, your peace begins to restore the stillness within me. Lord, help me cultivate this stillness. Help me guard it from the noise of the world around me. Help me protect it from the quick reactions that pull me away from centeredness. Help me create space inside myself where fear cannot intrude and worry cannot dominate. Help me choose calmness even when circumstances invite chaos. Help me choose patience even when pressure rises. Help me choose gentleness even when frustration threatens to take the lead. Father, I ask you to illuminate the areas where peace feels most fragile, the situations that shake me quickly, the conversations that leave me unsettled, the uncertainties that trigger tension in my chest, the responsibilities that weigh on my mind late into the night, the moments when I feel stretched too thin. I bring all of these before you and ask that you breathe peace into them, peace that does not erase the challenges but steadies me in the midst of them. God, help me recognize the subtle signs that my peace is slipping away. The tightening of my thoughts, the quickening of my breath, the racing of my mind, the urge to control what is not mine to control, the heaviness that settles suddenly. These signals are not failures. They are invitations, reminders that I need to return to you, to breathe deeply, to release what I cannot carry, to let your calm fill the spaces where my fear has grown. As the morning light softens the world around me, I feel something softening within me as well. A slow loosening of tension, a quieting of anxious thoughts, a gentle reassurance rising like a whisper that I am safe in your presence. This peace does not shout. It settles. It does not rush. It unfolds. It does not demand. It invites. And as I sit with it, I realize that this is the kind of peace my soul longs for, steady, deep, rooted, unshakable. Lord, teach me how to carry this peace into the places where it feels most threatened, into conversations that require patience, into decisions that require discernment, into moments of pressure that require clarity, into relationships that require understanding, into responsibilities that require resilience. Let peace become the atmosphere around my thoughts, the rhythm of my breath, the posture of my heart. God, let this peace extend beyond my internal world. Let it influence the way I speak, the way I listen, the way I respond, the way I forgive, the way I wait, the way I walk through uncertainty. Let it become a presence that others can feel, steady, gentle, grounding, not because I am naturally calm, but because I am anchored in you. Father, remind me that peace is not the absence of storms, but the assurance that I am held through them. It is the quiet certainty that no matter what unfolds, you are not shaken, and therefore I do not need to be. It is the understanding that even in moments when my emotions feel chaotic, your stability remains constant. It is the truth that I can return to you at any moment and find the stillness my heart needs. As I linger in this moment a little longer, I feel peace settling into me like a warm light, soft but strong, gentle but grounding. I feel it filling the spaces where worry once lived. I feel it reminding me that I am not alone, not abandoned, not unprotected. I feel it becoming the steady foundation beneath my thoughts, the quiet anchor within my soul. Lord, let this peace accompany me through the day ahead. Let it shape my choices, steady my reactions, soften my judgments, and guard my heart from unnecessary fear. Let it remind me that I can move slowly, breathe deeply, and trust fully. Let it become the unshakable core that carries me through everything I face, because it is not my peace I am holding on to, but yours. Father, as the quiet strength of your peace continues to settle into my spirit, I feel another gentle shift rising within me, a deep and steady awakening that I have longed for without always knowing how to name it. It is the desire to live fully awake, fully aware of your presence, fully attentive to your movements, fully engaged with the life you place before me, not drifting through days in habitual patterns, not moving on autopilot, not numbing myself with distraction, but truly awake, truly alive, truly present. And as this longing unfolds, I sense you inviting me into a deeper, richer awareness of what it means to walk through each moment with my spirit open and my heart attentive. Lord, you know how easily I slip into routine. You know how often I move through the day without noticing the small gifts you place around me. You know the ways I become absorbed in responsibilities, tasks, and worries until I lose sight of the beauty woven into ordinary moments. You know how often I overlook the gentle nudges of your spirit, not because I do not want to hear you, but because I am not awake enough to notice. And now, in this soft morning stillness, I feel you calling me to rise not only physically but spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. God, I want to live my life with a deeper sense of awareness. I want to notice the quiet ways you comfort me. I want to recognize the subtle ways you guide me. I want to feel the small stirrings that mark your presence. I want to move through my day with sensitivity to your whispers, to the shifts in my spirit, to the invitations hidden in each interaction. Teach me to see beyond the surface. Teach me to listen beneath the noise. Teach me to recognize your fingerprints in the moments that seem ordinary at first glance. As I reflect on this desire, I imagine myself walking through a field as the first full light of morning begins to settle over the landscape. Colors that were once muted come alive. Details that were once blurred come into focus. Shapes, textures, shadows, and patterns that went unnoticed in dimness suddenly become visible. And in this imagery, I sense you showing me that spiritual awareness works the same way. When I am awake in your presence, life becomes clearer. Your movements become more recognizable. What once felt confusing becomes meaningful. What once felt random becomes purposeful. Lord, awaken my spirit. Open my eyes to the beauty you have placed in front of me. Let me see the grace woven into moments I would otherwise overlook, the kindness in someone's voice, the unexpected pause that gives room for thought, the gentle encouragement I did not know I needed, the resilience that rises inside me without explanation, the quiet shift of peace that passes through me in a moment of uncertainty. Let these moments become reminders that you are near, that you are moving, that you are speaking even when I am not fully aware. Father, help me become more present to the people around me. Teach me to notice their needs, their emotions, their unspoken burdens. Teach me to offer genuine attention instead of distracted responses. Teach me to listen with my heart, not only with my ears. Let awareness shape my compassion, allowing me to bring your presence into the lives of others simply by being fully engaged. Fully attentive. Fully here. God, awaken me to the internal movements of my own heart. Help me notice when I begin drifting into fear. Help me recognize when tension grows quietly inside me. Help me feel when my thoughts are pulling me toward impatience or defensiveness. These moments of awareness are not meant to shame me, but to guide me back to you, to reset, to realign, to breathe, to choose again the calm you offer. As the morning continues to brighten, I feel this awakening becoming more tangible within me. Not a sudden jolt, not a dramatic shift, but a deepening sense of presence, a soft stirring that reminds me I am alive. I am here. I am connected to something far greater than myself. I feel the invitation to move through the day slowly enough to notice, deeply enough to understand, openly enough to respond. Lord, teach me to welcome interruptions as opportunities instead of inconveniences. Teach me to receive unexpected moments with curiosity instead of frustration. Teach me to pause when my mind rushes ahead. Teach me to breathe when pressure rises. Teach me to anchor myself in the moment I am living rather than racing into moments that have not yet come. Let awareness become the rhythm that steadies my steps. Father, make me attentive to your voice as I move through this day. Let me notice the sudden clarity that feels too wise to be mine. Let me pay attention to the peace that settles unexpectedly. Let me sense the warning that comes through discomfort. Let me honor the conviction that nudges me toward growth. Let me feel the encouragement that lifts me in ways I cannot explain. Let me be awake enough to recognize that these moments are not accidents, they are encounters. God, awaken me to gratitude. Let small joys touch my heart. Let moments of kindness soften my thoughts. Let beauty draw my attention. Let simplicity calm my spirit. Let everyday blessings remind me that I am surrounded by grace. Gratitude makes me present. Gratitude wakes me up. Gratitude opens my eyes to what has been there all along. As I linger a little longer in this quiet space, I feel my spirit rising, not in haste, not in excitement, but in steady awareness. I feel myself becoming more receptive, more grounded, more awake. This awakening is not about doing more. It is about noticing more. It is about living with intention instead of habit, with presence instead of distraction, with openness instead of numbness. Father, let this awakening stay with me throughout the day. Let it guide the way I speak, the way I listen, the way I move, the way I respond. Let it remind me to pause, to breathe, to look, to listen. Let it help me notice the quiet ways you surround me with love. Let it transform ordinary moments into sacred encounters simply because I am awake enough to see them. Father, as I step into this final stretch of our long journey of morning prayer, I feel a deep and gentle stillness forming within me, a quiet acknowledgement that every word spoken until now has carried me closer to the center of your presence. I sense the weight of gratitude rising like a soft tide, reminding me how far you have brought me, how carefully you have guided my spirit, and how faithfully you have steadied my steps through each unfolding chapter of this sacred path. There is a fullness in me now, not loud or overwhelming, but calm and steady, like a warm hand resting over my heart. Lord, I come with a spirit that feels more open than when I first began, more willing to trust, more willing to release, more willing to see the day ahead not as something to fear, but as a space to walk with you. I thank you for the healing you have stirred in the hidden places of my soul, for the clarity you have given when I felt uncertain, for the peace you allowed to settle when my thoughts grew restless. I thank you for the way you have strengthened my spirit, awakened my awareness, and reminded me again and again that I am never walking alone in any hour of the day. God, as this prayer draws near its final breath, I ask that every truth you have whispered into me would remain alive and steady. Let the strength you have given carry me through difficulty. Let the peace you have planted guard my inner world. Let the awareness you have awakened become the quiet light by which I see. Let hope rise in me each time weariness tries to return. And let every part of this journey transform the way I move, the way I speak, the way I choose, so that my life becomes a reflection of the gentle work you have begun inside me. Father, I thank you for the listener who has walked beside me through this entire journey. Bless their heart for staying, for seeking, for choosing stillness in a world that pulls them in many directions. Strengthen their faith, steady their thoughts, fill them with courage, and surround them with comfort that lingers like a familiar embrace. Let every step they take today be supported by grace, and let every moment remind them that they are deeply seen and deeply loved. To you, dear listener, thank you for reaching the end of this sacred path. Your presence matters more than you know. I invite you to share your feelings or your personal prayer below, so this space may become a place of encouragement for many hearts. If this time of quiet has touched you, I welcome you to subscribe, to share this prayer, and to return each day so your faith may continue to grow. Breathe and stay alive within you. Let this gentle unfolding remind you that every new beginning is softened by grace, and every step forward is held within a love that does not waver. As you continue into the hours ahead, may you sense the quiet guidance that moves like a steady current beneath your thoughts, inviting you to walk with intention, to breathe with ease, and to trust that the one who formed the dawn also forms the path beneath your feet. Let this day become a canvas on which peace settles freely, where hope rises naturally, and where courage awakens in small yet meaningful ways. May your heart notice the subtle gifts that meet you along the way, the unexpected kindness, the pause that gives you room to breathe, the gentle reassurance that settles without explanation. Let these moments become reminders that you are surrounded by grace, accompanied by love, and strengthened by a presence that does not fade when the world grows loud. Let the light within you stay steady even when shadows stretch long, and let your spirit remain anchored in truth no matter how quickly the day begins to move. As you step forward, may your inner world stay soft enough to feel, strong enough to endure, and open enough to grow. Let peace wrap around your thoughts. Let clarity rise when you need direction. Let comfort rest in the spaces where you feel unsure, and let the steady warmth of divine nearness follow you. Not only in the quiet moments, but in the busy ones. Not only in reflection, but in action. Not only in stillness, but in motion. And as the day unfolds, may this promise rise within you, steady, like soft light over water,